Welcome back, everyone. This is Sethikus, Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. And in light of the current energies and everything that's been unfolding up until this point, there's some things that I've been taking a lot of time to pull back and reflect upon that need to be addressed in terms of the progression of this platform. Now, I've spent many years exposing the darkness, exposing the evil, and I think I've done a pretty good damn job of going to the depths of the poison root. As far as recalibration goes, and where things are going to be progressing, it's going to go deeper beyond all of this. I've had enough of the fucking war. I've had enough of the blowback. I've had enough of the indifference and certain behaviors and attitudes that have not only arisen within myself, but with many other people in network, caught in the same feedback loops that I've talked about and addressed over the years. I don't care what level of knowledge you have come to know. Who are you as a person? How are we conducting ourselves with one another? Is there trust, respect, and clear communication? And I've gone through the process of going through my own corrections here. And there are certain things that have been presented to me that I want to share with you. And right now is a recalibration time in terms of everything that's unfolding, so that we can come back into alignment. And this right here is going to be taken from an article written by Michael Dean. Quote, "A fundamental dilemma exists in spiritual circles which arise from how we have perceived objective reality and interact with it. It is an increasingly accepted fact that our planetary environment is governed by a majority of energy feeders, Illuminati pedos, sleeping humans, and all variants in between. We seem to suffer a parallax error or blind adherence to the ways of seeing, as it bears down on our understanding as well as the prospects for an actual purposeful evolutionary path. The earthly imbalance between the do no harm attitude and the quote-unquote feeder's psychopathic disposition has rarely been more extreme to a very critical degree. The in-betweeners, those with 1 foot in and 1 foot out in an ocean of grief, never really getting down to making a real impact. A consummate inclination. Every human infraction in sight actually makes matters worse as well. If an individual is willing to make a correction, then okay, let's move forward and bring in the concept of object constancy, notwithstanding the very real possibility, with other unaccountable, unrecognized influences from within as much as from without, due to sheer corruption and weaknesses that we all fucking deal with, make for periodic maelstorms. And in light of the progression, there were major attacks unleashed in terms of what I've been working to personally rectify, so that things can get back on track to where the progression needs to be going. This state is exasperated by the dim recollection that the pre-ancient myths, legends, religious rites, magical and drug-induced ecstatic practices that have exonerated us from facing reality. The greater meaning of this remark lies not so much as what we do about the feeders, but how we extract ourselves from these unholy circumstances. The labyrinth, like I've talked about, the self-same labyrinths of many ancient legends. Such is the longevity of this challenge. And if we are going to create the new mythos, then we need to see the past for what it is, in context to distortions, in context to setbacks and delays and challenges. This means to achieve this solution, which needs to be understood in all esoteric circles. Principally the question of insisting on life by highest choice. Michael Dean mentions that the main point occurred in the build-up, and that 80% in terms of who we are, and not only the attitude that we have towards ourselves, but with one another, is that we have been making inferior choices regularly under circumstances that readily offered a higher choice. And this all goes back to how they cause the divide and conquer between all of us. And it's not to judge the progression or the pullback or the recalibration, because things are going to continue to come into alignment. And moving further with what I want to share here, it says, among spiritually inclined people, this may speak to laziness, ignorance, carelessness, distraction, and what have you, all variants of inattentiveness and self-deception. In the case of the feeders, they couldn't care less whether it contaminates or pollutes the experience of self with others or not. To the feeders, people aren't people, they are things. And the whole idea that we are quote unquote all one carries little weight here, subatomically or otherwise. It is an overused expression which does little more of those that say this feel better. Otherwise, it accounts for next to nothing. Again, if we are not one with ourselves, then how can we be one with one another? I spoke about this concept years ago. And in context to this, it's a truly energetic vacuum from the mind control unit that is still feeding upon your very soul. I see regularly that the traps in context to spirituality limit the scope of objective observation and interaction. Peace and harmony are not inevitable on earth. It's a circumstance for hundreds of thousands, even millions, according to what's there in the records of Amente. So another adage, peace and harmony is absolutely possible. In fact, this is where the fuck we need to be going, because the wars and all the infighting and all the fucking feedback loops and all the fucking bullshit, it needs to fucking end. Learning the knowledge of the ancient past leading up to the present moment. All you got to do is look into history and see what the circumstances of all of this has produced, recognizing false, cold light, bullshit in context of the path of truth. And again, it's the note that moving through the darkness of ignorance is necessary to the working, potential, and evolution of our universe. And to deny this is an appalling act of arrogance and ignorance. It is, in fact, a denial of the higher force and creator source itself. And implicably, the states of divine being, which is the true light, and non-being, which is the darkness of ignorance. And see, this is the challenge here in context, which is to identify and navigate what exists of this conundrum here on earth. What are we going to choose? This is our predicament still. We have to make a choice between paths, obtain and utilize as much knowledge as possible, making an irreversible commitment to the path of being, impeccability. And once you cross a certain line, there is no going back. You have to see things forward. And it is to note that if you continue the progression rate is going to continue to move forward. It's people that bounce in and bounce out that don't get the results and can get pulled into all of the great, fantastical things in context to knowledge which exist, which therein lies an even greater danger in terms of spiritual escapism, when this path work is all about self-mastery and actualizing and giving birth the true core essence of who we are. And this choice is the king of all choices. It is the very root of the gift of free will. Therefore, it yields the existential requirement of finding effective terms on which we relate to not only ourselves and manage our own reality, but also with one another. This must be so. We choose to actively discern good and evil as directors of our own conscious energy. This is what a self-sovereign that is acting out existence is confined to in context to the real work, by the compressed density of Earth's energetic atmosphere. And see, it's not so fucking good in context to what we're dealing with. But the higher force, creator source, is creation. Our universe is full of life-giving, life-ending, forgiveness and vengeance, joy and tribulation, ugliness and beauty, and polarity because of our disconnect to the higher force. And in an attempt, the viewpoint of what I'm getting at here and what projections concerning other people, almost without pause, the endless torrent of chaotic energy has the odyssey to impose, that others think and feel as we do. And that if they don't, they're just misguided idiots lacking. The reality of all of this is actually deeply shocking, and here's why. In context to the true universal tree of life, the Cathar aspect of it, 12 nodes, each node is sensitive to the consciousness of the higher force. And see, it's not a one-way street in context. The nodes are what attract our own specific genetic combination of DNA as matter particles which form around them. Nodes are sensitive to other life forms, information, and threats, as well as other senses. The whole array attracts, receives, and returns frequencies from the higher force and the sea of consciousness the creator source maintains. Furthermore, the nodes and DNA function in relation to what is known as the Hova and radial bodies, the stability, speed, rotational direction, and other aspects in order to merge with higher density. All goes back to the personal path work and progression that we are all experiencing here in context. Again, I want to take things forward beyond what has been exposed, especially this last year. And it further states here that the aforementioned circumstances form a part of this picture and directly impact our four-body system in an endless dance of reoccurring feedback loops. It's one thing to know about what the fuck is going on, and even with what has been presented on a very, very deep occult level in context to the manipulation, but it must never become our focus. And again, this is why I want to move things forward past it all and all of the frequency triggers of the biological ESP hormonal mechanisms, neurons, common cells, neurotransmitters, receptors, electrons, protons. Cell receptors float on the cell surface like lotus petals floating in a vast pond as its roots spread across the cell's interior. These actions result in a very particular shape, as very particular molecules are formed. More and more atoms are attracted to the sea of change, producing truly specific geometries. And see, I've exposed sacred geometry, all the geometry that people use, which is not the underpinning geometry of the universe. This is in context to distortions. These geometries trap sound, they trap light, they trap your fucking energy. And all of this is initiated by information entering the cell structure itself, just as ligand acts on the cell when it binds to a receptor. In turn, our higher mind, our spiritual soul receptor, transmits information deep into the interior of our consciousness, where the messages can change the state of awareness dramatically. And again, it's all about your state of mind. And any subsequent input or output, which is processed, saved, or stored, chain reactions of a psycho-spiritual kind can occur. Consciousness from this point, again, coming from the true core essence, ignited, realigns itself, but can be skewed based upon the information that is received, which in place needs to be ready to receive new waves of subsequent data in context of proper knowledge and wisdom. And see, this is the currency of evolution, the spiritual life chain in natural motion. If these processes were interrupted or interfered with to any degree unnaturally, with repetitive consistency, the result can be measured in terms of progressive cellular molecular polarity reversal, aka disease, which is everything to do with a metatronic compaction. And in terms of the lockdown, the equation of the metatronic compaction is the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. Now, progressive reversal of polarity, like I've talked about in context to many things, those that have been initiated into the mystery school, of these delicate biological mechanisms, combines to compound stress throughout the four-body system, which registers and flows throughout all, compromising the conditions produced. Outcomes can be any and all of molecular compaction, compromising our shields, given over to miasms, show now frozen light, or unhelpful hormonal changes in the hypothalamus, pineal, and pituitary glands, effects on numerous other functions, such as Hova bodies, radial bodies, access to bodily keys and codes. So now you might see that this existential reality presupposes firm and clear discernment between good and evil, occurring within our morphogenetic fields, controlling the condition and process of the four minds which are key to the development and increased control of our forward body system. As reluctantly informed wannabe directors of our own consciousness energy flows, we attenuate, more keenly know what exactly we are doing with our energy in biological, behavioral, genetic, and homeostatic terms. Meanwhile, Source continues, never minding what we choose to do. Yes, we are gifted with free will throughout our current 3D environment, but we cannot squander the gift of free will, recognizing the true purpose of incarnation, which was to remember, which was in order to heal, which was in order to come back into alignment. And see, the higher force cares less about that rarely felt ancient privilege, but anticipates what we manage to return. Remember. See, the higher force is going to continue on. And the context of sources matter is life-giving. It is the state and context to distortions that still need to be corrected. This is the cause point for vengeance and tribulation and ugliness and evil. When in truth, I think it's going to become very important at present and in the coming days as things progress that we can grab a hold of that joy and that beauty and things that are good and profound and powerful. And see, we suffer our illusions and projections. We see again regular people that aren't quote unquote like us, that know, always assuming that others think and feel as we do. And again, that's simply not the case. And if they don't, they are labeled as somehow deficient, misguided, or lacking in real love in their lives. But the truth, reality, is very, very different. The population mix is entirely different, and dangerously so. The greater portion lack connection to the higher sensory centers of universal love and awareness of others, in context to service to others, lacking genetic similarity, and are wired differently, and are capable of faking, sapping energy by feeding off it. This particular variety come across as compassionate without feeling a damn thing. And since this phenomenon includes the majority of Earth's population, it raises the likelihood that those that are truly awakening can be caught or tricked to suffer adverse influences of all kinds. This could happen with family members. This can happen with co-workers. This can happen with neighbors. See, all of us are susceptible to this because of what we're actually fucking dealing with here. And without acknowledging the darkness, which has been exposed, we cannot make that progression forward in context to where things need to go. I don't want to be hanging out on all this shit in context to the war. It goes on and on and on and on. Just another spoke in the wheel to be spit back out again and again, and is actually producing more stress factors and conditions that are going to contribute to polarity reversal. And if we were aware of the stakes here, we would not act otherwise. Of course, these circumstances offer the first test in persistence, setting the stage for your own vision of impeccability. The world around you shows you exactly what to fucking avoid. Being in this world, but not of it. And see, to this, you may come to a place of having a renewed resolve, having a better idea of what the damaging processes entail, and at what cost in terms of spiritual evolution and potential are likely to be. Remember, too, that all psi abilities are embedded within and projected by spirit in context to the care of soul. Respect, treasure, and protect your inner electromagnetic force, because there's plenty of fucking zombies out there, everybody. And a considerable percentage of people we meet are people who are empty on the inside. And see, this is unfortunate for us that do not see and do not know it. For if we knew what number of people were actually dealing with this on the inside, and what number of these individuals govern our lives, we should go mad with horror. I mean, it's absolutely unprecedented what is happening in this reality field. But in light of everything, if you go into yourself and you are good with yourself, and you become the cause point, and you move into that place of not being defined by outward circumstances or whatever the fuck is going on, then you will be in alignment. You will be the individual that knows the difference. And this is what we need to become, so that we're not given over to the conditioning, so that we're not given over to all of these things. And despite the challenges we are all facing in this reality field, it is just a matter of time before things recalibrate and before things do come into alignment. And in context to being human, as I know love, I was born, coming forth the primordial womb of this sacred earth. I grew from my heart as the fortuitous. I was born with that spark within, my eternal flame, and with the internal fortitude and will to live, to drive me forward, learning how to create from that place within myself reality. Born through the forgetting of the birth, I know I have the means to access my memories and light, so I can learn how to dream my own great dream of peace within myself. And see, peace within yourself is where you get that true power, not on the fucking trigger. Again, I'm correcting myself here in context to a lot of things that have been revealed on my end. I can war just as well as any of the best out there. But the way we're going to overcome this is by coming into our true power, that sense of peace within ourselves, to where all of this fucking bullshit that we're not just dealing with on the outward circumstances, but also within ourselves, has no effect on what is there within the core. For I, as a human, was born with all that potential knowingness within, already having the connection to all that was and will be within the codex. And it's not to say that it's all going to be revealed all at once, or that it's all going to be actualized all at once, or that you're just going to come into this place of a total absolute ignition. But it does not mean that the deposit of the eternal birthright is not there, because it is. It is there. And because it's there, it has to be known that no matter what the fuck is going on, this needs to become the focus. This needs to become the trajectory. And to claim that. And see, I have the ability to learn, to be the shaman of my own technology. And I am human because I can use my heart and mind to connect again to the fortuitous and call forth my ancient future wisdom in order that I may learn, grow, and evolve, and come to that place of potentially tapping into an authentic love, not only for myself, but to find the sacred neutrality that is my birthright. I am human because I have the rites of passage to discover the resources that carry me through the challenges of life here on earth. I love and I learn and I fuck up and I make mistakes, and then I recalibrate, and then I come back. And at times I learn through repetition, which brings illumination, which I can use for self-growth and self-discovery. I am human because I know that I carry the blood of my ancestors, and I feel my heartbeat and know it beats for all ancestors. And when I do the work of self-healing, I heal all ancestors, past, present, and future. I was born with choices and potentials of my own to carry forward the mantle of responsibility to be the self-illuminated master. A human knows in their heart there is something more beyond the petty distractions of the global narrative and survival living. Deep, deep down on the inside. Otherwise, go back to the shit that I was just getting at. When I see through the programs that run us, and I work to eliminate them so that it's my heart mind that makes my decisions and gives me my perspectives. I had the skill sets to hack and to fortify. This process is about actualized individuation. I know that I hold that eternal potential, born with the wisdom within me of why I dream this dream. I am human when music moves me to tears. I am human because I can feel my heart singing, because I can laugh and cry and wail and scream and express and speak and sleep and dream. I feel the tugging of winds in my hair and the warming of the sun on my skin. I breathe in the sharp freshness of the chill air on a frosty winter's day. I can smile. Even though I may seem serious to all of you out there, I can smile, and I would prefer to smile and be light in taking the energy of where I want to progress things here in context to a lighter density. I am the human recognizing my heart is full of undiscovered treasures, and that I am here to make the unknown known. And as a human, I have choices, the choosing of which creates yet more choice points. I have the choice to use imagination and vision, which opens me up to co-create a great mystery, the new mythos, a beautiful, never-ending voyage of discovery. As a human, my evocations of thanks and connections to my heart via the ancestors. This is when the human evolves enough to make self-aware choices to step out of mediocrity in context to acquire knowledge into wisdom by action, and by becoming awake and aware that I am more than I have heard, read, or studied, and having the courage to develop an unlimited point of view, to create sacred space and carve out sacred time, and to use out loud declarations of evocation. Even when the whole world seems to be yelling at you, continue on the path and being that place of self-discovery and self-healing, which is not in alignment with the system of mediocrity and distraction and fucking bullshit. The system that tells you that they know best and that without it, you're going to be struggling. In turn, we need to be creating the systems that will help not only ourselves, but others reclaim their own sovereignty in order to step forward to do the great work, regardless of the projections put upon them by those around us. And see, we all do it. We all do it to one another. But okay, why? Where is it coming from? Needing to correct the behaviors, holding ourselves accountable. Because anyone that doesn't is in a place of hypnosis in context to obedience and slavery. And the stance is potentially a frightening one to those who unquestionably conform. And see, we're not meant to lose, coming at things from a place of fear. And see, I've had to fight back when truth is met with scorn and ridicule, given over to the things that feed the fear of change, when my sacred neutrality is seen as weakness and my intent questioned as a human. But I know with a deep, unwavering inner knowing that this is a part of the journey that I must go through. Because there isn't anything that can't be mended. There isn't anything that can't be overcome. There isn't anything that cannot come back into alignment. Learning to conquer all of these old habit patterns that are working against me. I stop arguing with my own limitations. A true hero is not a fucking martyr. We go unto ourselves here. This is what this path is all about. Because in order to be good for others, you must be good unto yourself. And if we're not good unto ourselves, then we need that encouragement and empowerment from other people. Because there will be times in life where you're kicking ass, and there will be other times in life where you're completely down in the fucking gutter. And no matter where you are at right now in life, what matters is that you keep going, that you keep progressing, that you keep bringing things forward and working on your own development and healing and allowing others to do the same. If they should choose to take up the mantle of responsibility, all of this is necessary. Commit the encouragement and empowerment of this, because I know it's not what I always think that's always right. It's to acknowledge the things that are important to other people and see where they're at and not throw a false expectation on someone, but to be present and encourage and empower them where they are. And if we're going to rebuild trust, if we're going to rebuild self-trust, self-acknowledgement, self-nurture, facing obstacles in the seen and unseen worlds, taking on as discipline the spiritual hygiene and sacred practices and ceremonies, as a scheduled heart agenda-driven need to maintaining an increasing frequency and sovereignty and setting of sacred boundaries. Again, this is not easy, but you must own your core. You must own your power in a system that wants to take it from you in all kinds of overt and covert ways. And as I make myself aware to this and have spiritual practices and postures that keep me sovereign, an individual that knows the path of truth, know that it can from time to time be lonely, but it does not operate as a hermit practitioner, because we do need connection with one another. Connection that serves for no purpose than the greater good. And it's to recognize the illusory limitations set up by the self that are the cause points for separation, not only within ourselves, but with one another. And these are the things that we need to overcome. All the worry and the fear and the anxiety and all this fucking shit, recognizing that they are the product of the lack of the trust in self. Therefore, we must learn to trust ourselves and one another. Otherwise, we come at life from a place of indifference and isolation. And if you want to be a fucking champion in life, then you've got to throw off all of the shackles in the seen and unseen worlds. And when you see yourself as the self-illuminated master, You can see through the trickery and lies of the systems of domination and control. And where you need to confront it is within yourself, because that's the only way it's going to fucking change. And if everybody did the real great work here, their house of cards would fall. But no, you run out on a fucking trigger and give away your fucking power. And see, they count on this fucking shit. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't expose certain things, but we cannot allow whatever the fuck is going on to become our focus. Okay, what is your focus? Is it healing? Is it recalibrating? Is it deciding that you're not going to feed into the fucking fear programming that's continuously being promulgated in our faces out there? For I know that in that action, I'm actually adding more of the same fucking frequency. You got to change the frequency here in context. And we have to learn how to create our lives in context through sacred living, by revocations, claiming sovereignty, going through the alchemical rites of initiation, and aligning with the frequencies of the earth in context to a natural way of living. And be in that divine flow and create sacred ways and sacred moments from that place that we have learned to live from one sacred moment to the next. As moment to moment, sacred living on earth, living the true magical life daily in a seamless bond stream of self-healing, self-worth, self-value, and self-appreciation, and authentic love. From this place, you cannot trigger an individual into retaliation. And this is something that I'm learning on a very, 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 very deep, profound level, everybody. And is where the progression of this platform is going. Set on a recalibration, pulling things back to where they needed to be a few years ago in order to pour out an endless stream, a pure stream of authentic care in the face of all of these things happening. And in order to learn the lessons of life in context to self-protection from energies not coming into an equal co-creation to siphon life force, we have to master ourselves and be disciplined in context to spiritual hygiene, and to know that it is a discipline. And I've been through the deepest fear of a shaman's death, that extreme anxiety, the disturbance, the loss of life force, the hollowness and the emptiness before the separation of densities, removed old selves, there to distort and destroy and work against the true core essence of who I am. I know what that's like. And it does take courage in those places. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to revisit shit. Because in context to the timeline fuckery that's going on, I'm really fucking pissed off when it comes to certain things, because there were major fucking attacks unleashed to things that happened on my end. But here is where we know how to flip the script in context to frequency in order to engage the precognitive workforce that is there within us of presences, so that I may be the sole arbiter, out creating the systems plan for me. And if you hear what I'm saying, it's going to be for you too. And engaging in the many skill sets that I've learned as a synthesis of what it means to become a complete human. Victories are not seen as glorification. Like, look at me. I've come to such a powerful place. Now all eyes on me. It ain't about that shit. And again, anybody out there that has publicly try to fucking point the finger at me, you fuckers need to go face the mirror, because I ain't got time for that shit. You're still in middle school, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You don't know who you're messing with here, because I'm not going to give you my energy. And anyone that knows the difference with me can see past the things that I personally deal with as well. And see, this is what it means to become spiritually mature, because victory and personal achievement comes from a place of being a sacred, neutral observer and learning from the rites of passage that are there as milestones to my own personal spiritual path. It is in the divine flow of the heart of the warrior and the mind and body, the music that carries me to the depths of my soul in true joy. I've been reminded of what I'm fighting for, and I want to claim what the fuck I've been fighting for. I want all of us to claim what the fuck we've been fighting for and let go of the war, realizing that the war is already over in context of past, present, and future. Now, in terms of consciousness and frequency, yeah, we're up against a lot at the fucking moment. But okay, what are you going to make your focus in this time? It's not to deny anything. I'm not saying to deny the darkness, but what we have been conditioned unfortunately too, is to deny the true light that is there, for fear that the darkness reigns. And it's a fucking lie. And from my heart space knowingness, there is sort of an unlimited love that's there, and it can come out very harsh. It can be very fucking harsh. I know how I can be, but I am working to find that harmony within myself. And maybe some of you out there can feel the difference with my energy at the moment, because there is a deeper wisdom that knows the potency and context to coming into that place of peace, which is where the true power resides, within the eye of the fulcrum, where nothing can fuck with you. I am unvanquished, unconquerable, because I choose sovereignty. I am unvanquished. I am unconquerable, because I choose sovereignty of the self. I choose self-mastery. I choose to be a signature frequency match to that place of power and peace within myself in the face of fear. A true warrior is a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. And as the great dreamer coming at things on this platform from that place of power, I recognize that all spiritual paths are there for a reason. And it's all about tapping into that inner guidance that is there within the heart core essence. Being able to see into the unseen worlds, yeah, it's a fascinating thing. Dreaming into the dream space of loved ones. Repatterning soul shards and bringing things back into a place of wholeness. Repairing and bonding fracturalized dream spaces. I've stood up in dreams as a sovereign, potent being, carrying my staff bound with feathers and crystals to protect others and myself. I've removed entities from the dream spaces of my love. I've removed entities from the dream spaces of myself and loved ones. I am unvanquished. And I know as the great dreamer that we all have the potential to dream the great dream of power in the face of fear in order to create the sixth root race by dreaming that dream, by actualizing that dream. Now, if it comes to a fight, it will come to a fucking fight. I'm not afraid to go there, but that's not my goal here. The way we overcome this war is by healing. In terms of frequency, in terms of consciousness, in terms of our physicality, in terms of our attitudes, in terms of our fucking behaviors, and all these things that I'm being held accountable to. This is where I have been getting corrected. And the great spirit, the higher force, whatever you want to call it, it does flow through me. And see, the words flow, whether spoken, written, or typed. I have remembered who I am and why I dream this dream. But it doesn't mean that more isn't going to be revealed. Because it is. I am the mighty manifester of the great dream. I honor myself and others as the self-illuminated masters holding the great dream of power, true power. I ride the celestial winds of change with a heightened awareness, integrity, and intuition, carrying the messages of the unvanquished dream. For I am unconquered, a sovereign arbiter of power from that place of peace within myself. As the unvanquished great dreamer, my luminescence will help awaken, as it has with many I've spoken with, many sleeping brothers and sisters of earth. And see, this is our position. The next generation of individuals that are going to do this, the torch bearers. And as I show, the lightness of what is there, and grace, and a new way of living on earth, I'm going to work to carry, as I have, the universal message of sovereignty in order to come from that place of power and true peace and freedom. I am so free, I choose to experience also the illusion of non-freedom on earth. And see, it's a fucking choice. It's a fucking choice. All of you out there listening to my voice right now, it is a choice what we choose to experience. We can change how we choose to experience, not only ourselves, but one another at any given time. And as the unvanquished great dreamer, I pilot a voyage as a great medium, sharing knowledge, consciousness, maxims of equity. For I had the courage to look within and read the encodings imprinted on my heart since my first birth of all eternal births and my dances with the stars, working to extract that joy that is truly there within the fucking depths of who I am, where I call forth spirals of stardust from the ends of my outstretched fingers. For you have to know that you have earned this rite of passage no matter what the fuck you're dealing with. I am the dragon. And as an unvanquished dreamer of the great dream, I initiate the force of my dragon with my deep breath and surrender to that point within the fulcrum, the raw spirit and pure grace that is me. This aspect of who I am, the dragon, I feel, as I've talked about, this is the pathwork of dragons, pure dragons. I feel the harmony of my body being in touch with the universe, to move me through different dimensions at speed, to raise my awareness, to take me beyond my mind and help me move my energy and shift any stagnation so I may gain greater clarity. We are the ancient ones, the great holders of the universal truths, our ancient freedoms, ancient knowingness, our ancestors. And when I am this, I harbor within me the adventure of spirit. I've been a trailblazer in context of this fucking platform, into the velvety depth of all space and time, of all the galaxies and universes and beyond that which is out there, to create an even grander perspective. It's not to negate practicality. It's not to negate anything that you're dealing with in life. This isn't some kind of spiritual escapism. This is all about spiritual self-mastery, mastery on every level of your existence. And as you work to create new pathways, I ride the currents and cosmic airflow of the four celestial winds, free and untethered, so I may create with a thread of that pure white golden light. I am the seeker of proper knowledge, the returning voyager of all time space, weaving in new streams of the true light, igniting the potential of a peacemaker's fire with my dragon breath, and lighting the torch that shows the path of the sixth world that is there, the original timeline, all this crazy shit that is potential here, discovering again that past, present, and future are happening simultaneously. And to know that this path is going to best be served with humility and right action, giving up any illusions of control and deepening the relationship with all that is, was, and ever will be. As the dragon, my sacred heart will be my compass in all frequencies of the true light. And when I co-create with the spectrum of the golden white light, individuals that do this are going to become the elders of this time on earth. I am the dragon, and this is an aspect of the legacy that I am working to forge here. And as we lift our wings together in order to take things to a new calibration with this platform, all I know is that the things worth fighting for, true authentic love and beauty in all of its forms, this is what we need to be reminded of in the face of whatever fucking bullshit is happening right now at present, in context to what I'm sharing here. Now, with that, many people out there know about the Mystery School, and if anybody is interested in that, you can check out the website at blackearthproductions.com. Look up the services page. Hit me up at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com in context to initiation, so that you as an individual can find your own specific calibration in context of what it means to be sovereign, so that after the healing process takes its course, we can come back around and move things forward in the way that they are meant to be. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions. Be empowered. Be encouraged.